Celtics by the final score of 117-109. That's more like it. Hustle plays off the bench, balanced scoring all the way around, three-point shooting barrages, all of those things like we'd expect them and want them from the Jazz, and we're talking about it coming up on POSTCAST. This is POSTCAST. We are live at Locked On Live on Twitch as well as Facebook and YouTube. Also, I believe on Periscope at DLock09. The Utah Jazz tonight pull off the win over the Boston Celtics. Just the third time all year the Jazz win a game when trailing going into the fourth quarter. They came in at 2-9 in those settings. They were down going to the fourth. They scored 40 fourth quarter points. Donovan Mitchell with a massive dagger three. After having a bunch of really tough possessions, Mike Conley comes off the bench in the final 6 minutes and settles everything down for the Jazz. But from a big picture standpoint, this was how the Jazz have to win basketball games. They end up with 6 guys in double figures, different periods of time for different guys making plays. Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson early, Bojan Bogdanovic early in the third quarter, the bunch of plays. Rudy's defense was marvelous at different portion periods of the game, as dominant as we've seen him for 6-7 possession stretches like he often will do. And then the final piece of that puzzle is the Jazz got 50% of their shots as threes again tonight. They took 19 of 43 from three tonight on 80 shot attempts, 44%. They also go to the line 24 times in contrast to the 4 free throws by the Celtics in this game. So that absolutely had a huge impact on the game. Rudy's defense late was mammoth also. Jason Tatum took a shot at the 4:10 mark, and then they tried to turn the ballgame over to Jason Tatum. And on numerous occasions, he drove to the basket, passed out, and you end up with Marcus Smart and other guys who you want to have taking shots late in games, taking shots for the Celtics instead of the players the Celtics wanted to take shots. So really a very, very good win for the Jazz. Reminiscent of the team we saw earlier this year. Not as reminiscent of the team we've seen in 4 of the last 6 games. Defensively, they weren't great tonight, but Boston does a lot of things that probably cause you some problems. The key of this whole game is trying to keep Boston in the half court. They're not a good half court offensive team. They're a very good transition team. That number early in the game, 30% of their possessions in transition as we were turning it over. We got it down to 20%. Then we got it down to 16%. But then by the end of the night, Boston was back in transition for about 20% of their possessions, which is really pretty high. So that the Jazz made it a little more difficult on themselves in that sense, is that Boston still was able to get out and play in the open court. But when the Jazz got the ball game into that half-court set, that's what they're great at. That was the Celtics' 17th ranked offense against the Jazz' 2nd ranked half-court defense. That's not going to be a good script for the Celtics, and it showed tonight for the Jazz. So that's my take on this one. We'll open up the questions for you in the chat room. This is a good win. Last year in Boston, right before the pandemic hit, was probably our best win of the year. This might be our most important win of the year. You know, it just changes all of the kind of talk around the team. If you can go into Washington, get a win. You can go to Toronto, get a win. If you go to Chicago, get 1 or 2 more on this trip. We don't have to go back to winning 22 of 24, but if we can get back to winning 3 out of 5, things like that, then we're going to be in pretty good shape. That's what we have to do. But that was the key. Bunch of really good plays in this one as well, which makes it fun to kind of talk about. One that I think everyone will talk about, Rudy with a massive block and then ball movement all the way around as well. I thought Mike Conley was brilliant. I haven't looked at the plus-minus numbers tonight, but I really thought he settled us a great deal. Plus-minus tonight, Rudy Gobert plus 14 in an 8-point victory. Wow, he is really something else. All right, let's get to it. Can you walk us through the rotation changes tonight? Were there rotation changes tonight? I didn't notice any. Did we change? Did we avoid? Did they make them? I'll have to look. We did not play in the first quarter. In the first half, we played the Donovan, Jordan, Royce combination that really has been awful this year. And it was awful for 4 possessions, and we got out of it. And I don't think we played it in the second half. So that would be the subtle rotation change, but I would have to go back and look at it. Nathan, you might know more than I do. Frankly, sometimes calling a game, it's hard on that. These types of wins will benefit us more than blowouts, says Jason. Yes, good team wins on the road. But I can't tell how good Boston is in all fairness. There's 3 good teams in the East: Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Brooklyn. I just don't think Boston's in that grouping. There's 5 good teams in the West. And there's 3 good teams in the East. There's probably 8 teams that legitimately have a chance to win a title right now. And that's a lot. That's great. It's super for the NBA. We've never had 8 teams with a legitimate chance to win the title. And I bet you if you go look at the odds, they're like 15%, 14%, 13%, 12%, 10% for all these teams. Like Denver's the only one with like out odds that are, if you're going to bet online and you bet, I think that you'll see that Denver's the only one with kind of 1,000, 100 to 1 odd type things. And they probably shouldn't be. They're pretty good. If we cut back on turnovers, we cut back on transition points, we start rolling again. Yeah, I mean, the turnover thing was bad early. We ended up with 4 live ball tournaments in the first 4 live ball turnovers in the first quarter. We had 13 turnovers in the first half, and we had 4 turnovers in the second half. And Boston ended up for the night with only 8 steals. So I think they probably only had 2 steals in the second half. 8 live ball turnovers is actually not that bad a number. By the time that night's done, like 8's high. You'd rather be at 5 or 6. But it's not 10. Like 10's like, you suddenly have 10 live ball turnovers. You're suddenly getting them and probably 10% of the possessions going the other way with an advantage. Do you need to walk by this way? Or you're just listening to me babble. You're just listening to me babble. It makes me uncomfortable when Ron listens to me do this, but somehow it's fine when we do a broadcast together. How does that work? Matt Devine says, I thought Rudy had an absolute monster second half. I thought, if some people don't get Rudy and don't understand it or choose not to understand Rudy, they're just a big idiot. Like, there's no other way to say it. Like, the guy's amazing. His defense was game-changing tonight in a way when affected blocking shots, but also go watch the final 5 minutes. Tatum drives and just dishes out the whole time. Like, he doesn't even want a part of it. And then there's the play. Tatum tried it twice. Jalen tried it once. Everyone tries it once a night. Go one-on-one on Rudy. See how it works. Doesn't work. Tatum got Rudy with like 35 seconds left in the game on a hard drive. Finally. Great game. Faves played with fire. Rudy was amazing. Derek Favors play in the first quarter. We're down 18-10. We get a steal. Jaylen Brown makes a great, amazing block. And then Derek hustles the floor, gets the rebound, kicks out to Ingles. Ingles buries the 3. To me, that was one of the plays of the game. Massive plays of the game. The fact that the Jazz hit that. The other one was that Quinn went to Bojan Bogdanovic 3 times to open up the second half and make those plays late and get him some confidence and feeling good about things. Winning close games builds mental toughness for the playoffs. Every game will be a knife fight. Allen with a comment there. Winning close games from ahead is easy. The key is we went into the final 5 minutes up 6, right? That's really what it matters. Andy, I think when Donovan walks the ball up, it allows a great defender like Smart to get ready on D. Should he be pushing it up the basket after a basket in this case? Yes. In fact, we go back to the win against Boston. The key play is Donovan throwing it ahead to Bojan for the 3. Like, Donovan's got to push it forward. And Ron pointed out in the broadcast, he's got to stop backing up into the corner where the defender now can use the sideline and the half court on him. That was Donovan's. We forget that Donovan's still in his 4th year, is really his 2nd year as a primary ball handler. Thank gosh for Mike Conley tonight, because Mike Conley came in the game, freed Donovan for the ball just enough to, I think, get him settled. And then Donovan hit that just mammoth 3 out the bounce. That was just a sick shot. Like, that, to be quite honestly, to be as bad as Donovan had been the 3 or 4 possessions before and then hit that shot, that is what makes world-class athletes. Just different than everybody else. Why do you think Donovan over-dribbles sometimes rather than passes and moves the ball? Seems like he dribbles too much and he turns it over. You want to know what the easy answer on this one, Mark, is to defend Donovan for a second? He's 6 feet tall, 6'1". I think a lot of times he over dribbles because he's in that paint inside the trees trying to find the window. And if it's not like a bounce pass underneath someone to Rudy or to Derek, he doesn't have a passing window because he's 6 feet. Like, if you think about the other guys, Luka and LeBron and Ben Simmons and those guys, they're all 6'8", 6'9". They can make those passes in a really different way than Donovan's able to. It's why Mike Conley learned the floater, right? And Donovan doesn't have that shot. That's not a good shot for Donovan. Mike was awesome when he came in the 4th team. We better re-sign him. Oh, we're into the offseason already. And when do you think Robert Williams' ceiling is? I think he could be a brilliant modern big. Really? Didn't see any aspect of Robert Williams in this game that said modern big to me. Like Mitchell Robinson, poor man's Rudy, maybe, but I didn't see modern big. Interesting. I'll have to watch him more. Final question. Do the Jazz really need to add another player via trade deadline? I think we should not. Well, we don't have anything to trade. We literally don't have anything to trade unless we're like going to absolutely redo the roster, like a major piece of the puzzle in limited time without practice. That seems like it's an unlikely scenario to get done. So we don't even have a trade piece. If there's a buyout market, I mean, it adds to the luxury tax. Like I think we might have made the move with Ersan Ilyasova, but if we could get a breaking case of emergency defensive wing who probably can't shoot a lick, that would be great. But we don't have, like, unless you're trading Bojan, there's nobody that you're moving at the trade deadline that has any, or Joe Ingles or Royce O'Neal. Like those are the only players that have salary. And unless you're moving one of those, which I don't think seems like a very likely or good scenario. Jazz win it 117-109. Postcast. I'll be back with you tomorrow.